What's up, Hoop Reporters? It's your boy Manny here, and welcome back to another edition of the Hoop Report, the NAIA Women's Basketball Podcast. As we continue, and we said it before we got on to record, episode 13, part 9 of our conference previews. Part 1, obviously, we're going to be previewing the AAC. Lex, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The light is there. It's bright. It's interesting. I'm excited. It's crazy to think about. We've made it through almost 20 conferences. But, brother, we did it. Well, almost did it. Four more conferences left. 2 more today, the AAC and the River States Conference. 2 of the bigger conferences, I think, for sure, that we had to preview just because, again, the number of teams and one of these teams actually adding a school into their conference, or one of these conferences adding a school for women's basketball. But I'm very excited to get into it like we always do before we do any of the recaps, any of that stuff. You know what? I'm going to take this moment to do it. Housekeeping notes. Some of the coaches got back to me. Some coaches didn't, to the Google form that I sent out. Coaches, if you didn't, that's fine. Understand, very busy, completely get it. That's just where we're getting all our information from. The AAC website, the NAIA website, the Google form that the coaches were able to fill out if they had the time to do so. So don't come for us too much in the comments. Again, we're in the business to make some interesting, bold takes, and we've done that throughout these past, what is it now? We started back in July, right? So, oh my God, 2 months, bro. 2 months. It's kind of crazy to think about. 2 months.
Crazy.
2 months. But yeah, so we're going to get right into it. The Appalachian Athletic Conference, the AAC. Lex, what was your takeaway? What were you looking at? Don't preview too much into the nickname just yet, since that's one of the questions we're going to be talking about. But just kind of on an overarching view, what was your takeaway for the AAC?
My takeaway is that the AAC seems like a conference where there's typically a very clear front runner, but you go into second seed up until maybe like 7 or 8, and those seeds typically are very interchangeable. This conference seems like a very inside the paint dominant conference. They aren't really too focused on the 3 ball, and the team that has that specialty of having the pleasure of having a consistent 3 ball are the teams that usually come out on top.
I like it. I like the breakdown of it. I do think the AAC, and spoiler to one of our questions, it has been top heavy in the past, and we'll define top heavy in a minute here, but I do think there's a level of it. I'm not saying necessarily that it's like a clear cut number 1, but I do think that you can kind of break it up in a situation where some of these teams that are towards the bottom are going to be really struggling to try and get into the playoffs, while other teams are more focused on where their seeding is to get a favorable matchup in the first round of the conference tournament. But with that, we're going to head over now to our recap and all the good stuff from last year in the AAC. So you see your standings right there. Johnson, Milligan, Reinhardt, Pikeville, Montreat, Bryan, Tennesse Wesleyan, Columbia, Truett, McConnell, and Union Commonwealth all were the conference tournament teams that competed. And then St. Andrews, Kentucky Christian, Bluefield, and Columbia International were outside looking in. You see right there at the bottom, St. Andrews and Kentucky Christian will not be competing in the AAC this season. And at the very top, you see Johnson and Milligan were the 2 national contender teams for the AAC. Head over to our recap. Round of applause to everybody that made an all-conference, all-defensive, got a postseason award, all-freshman team, as well as your regular season co-champions, Johnson and Milligan, and your conference tournament champion, Milligan. Over to our questions now, Lex. Like I mentioned, first one's going to be just breaking down the AAC nickname. I do have a nickname for it. I'm very curious to see where you go for it. Again, you're on a roll. I believe you're 4 for 4 right now, so we'll see if you can keep it rolling. Then we'll talk about how the newest team, Spartanburg Methodist College, will affect the AAC. And I think it's going to be an interesting one because I do think this team, kind of similar to GGC in a sense for the CAC that we just previewed last week, they're going to be able to do something very, very interesting and very exciting and very similar to GGC, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then we'll talk about is the AAC top heavy? Is there a situation where there's a lot of teams that are at the top? And then we have our way too early tiers, predictions, contenders, playoff locks at the door, and break right. The AAC nickname, Lex. I went with the 65-point club. The 65-point club, because I felt like when I was looking through the stats, again, quick overviews of all the teams, it felt like if you could score at least 65 points on a consistent basis or above, you're probably a postseason team. And again, if we look back at our notes here, we've got Milligan, number 1 seed. They scored 86. Johnson, the number 1 seed as well in retrospect, 73 points per game. Then you've got Reinhardt at 69, Pikeville 72, Montreat at 73, Bryan at 67, Tennesse Wesleyan at 66, and Columbia, who was an AC last year, they were at 74. And then after that, you've got the last two postseason teams in Truett McConnell, 56, and Union at 65. Now, obviously, Truett McConnell is the one outlier there, not even getting the 60. But again, out of the 10 teams, because they do a play-in type of style to get into the postseason, out of the 10 teams that participated in the conference tournament, 9 of them were at least 65 or better. So I do think that that's kind of where I was leaning towards. I think not similar in some of the other conferences where we've talked about the three-point shooting, or we've talked about specific offensive focuses. This is more of just overarching. If you can get to this number, you're going to be probably a playoff team, or at least a playoff contending team. And it kind of goes to what we've been saying all summer, all preseason with, if you're at 65, you're about a good offense. You're about a good to great offense, depending on where you look at it and how everything else shakes out. So I do think that's kind of where I'm leaning towards, the 65 point club, the 65 club. Lex, what do you got?
I kind of like to meet the standard. I think that if the quota is met, let's call it meet the quota. If the quota is met, they're seeing some form of success. It's pretty across the board with this conference. If 65 points is met, if you're shooting as a team over 40%, you're pretty much automatic top 8.
I like that.
I still
like that one.
better stuff.
I actually like that one. I actually like meet the quota conference. I think it takes what I was saying and just kind of puts in a again.
Makes you think.
Lex's his ability, like a lot of these times we've been nicknaming these conferences, we've been saying the same thing for the most part, but it's just your ability to just name something that really, like, your marketing skills are top notch, dog. I'm not lying to you. Don't be surprised if one of these conferences, like, yo, I like the way this man thinks. We got to get him out here to start marketing and advertising our conference. But no, yeah, I like that. Meet the quota.
I can get a patent.
You know what I'm saying? I think we might have to start in the works with some of these stuff. But I do think meet the quota conference makes sense because, like you mentioned, it's just kind of, if you hit that mark that pretty much every coach talks about. Like, if you really think about it, a lot of coaches are going to say, hey, we got to put at least 65 to 66 points per night. You got to shoot a certain about 40% from the field if you can. You want to shoot 30%. Like, those are numbers you hear pretty much every time you've touched the basketball court for an organized team, whether it's college, high school, travel, whatever the case may be. So I do think meet the quota is very, very good note there. So I'm going to give it to you guys, 5 for 5. Keep cooking, brother. Keep cooking. Can you finish it out? You got 3 more conferences. Can you finish it out? But now we're going to head over
Let's hope so.
to part 2, or question 2, I should say. Spartanburg. We'll preview, kind of like we did with GGC. We're going to talk about them at the end, but we will preview the entire conference throughout, and we'll kind of combine question 2 and 3 towards the end, because question 3 is the conference top heavy, and I do think once we go through everything, it'll be a little bit more clearer. So we'll talk about Spartanburg at the end. Milligan, we'll start with you. The Buffs, they were co-regular season champions. They were conference tournament champions. They were a national team. They were the 11th seed. They actually beat Oregon Tech in the first round in overtime by, actually, I don't know if it was overtime, but I know they beat them. They were the 6th seed, so it was a big win. Their first tournament win in 26 years, so congratulations to the Buffs. You'd love to hear when streaks like that are broken. Their schedule and roster is out. We'll preview that towards the end here. But talk to me about this Milligan team. What did you see? You're returning 2 seniors in Samaj Clark and McKenna Myers. You're also returning a junior in Lena Lyon. What do you see from this Buffs team? What stood out to you? They are losing a lot as well. But just kind of what was your overarching theme for this Buffs team?
I think for this Bucks team to perform consistently above the rest, it clearly sets them out on top. I think that they know what they're looking for as a unit, and they have the recipe to get to that point. Personally, I like seeing that turnover ratio closer to 10 to 15. I think that's one of the first times I've seen it when reviewing all these conferences. So they're obviously holding the ball very well. They're crashing the boards at about 41% as a group, 35% from the 3, which is amazing shooting from beyond the arc, 47% as a group, with 86 points is very, very efficient. Samaj Clark is a first-team all-conference member and all-defense team with 16 points, 8 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, 48% from the field, 33% from 3. That is, if it isn't already clear, probably one of your next people to talk about for Player of the Year. You have to keep a lookout for her because not only is she hungry, she wants to continue to be a champion. I know she wants to graduate with a lot of more rings, a lot of more accolades on her belt. So she's going to continue to reach that point. McKenna Myers, 8 points, 3 boards, 44% from the field, 36 from 3. Also a very, very, very slept on key unit in this Milligan team. And Lena Leon, 7 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, 53% from the field, 31% from 3. This team, based off of what they're returning, they're keeping their consistency alive. I like it. Will they continue to perform what they have been? Hesitation, because they are losing a lot, but still like it.
I think that last line you said is the most important, the kind of where I'm at with them. Hesitation is the word. When we get to our tiers list, you'll kind of see where that goes, and mainly because there is another team in this conference that I just think is returning just as much, if not a little bit more, and I think they're going to be very, very exciting. And no, it is not Johnson, even though I do think Johnson will have a really good year this year. For this Buffs team, you mentioned Clark, 28 double-figure scoring games, 820 balls. That includes 820 balls, a 30 balls, 7 double-doubles, a triple-double as well. She's going to be a, for sure, Player of the Year contender. I really agree with that take. And then she also had she had a 2010 game. She had a 2015 game with rebounds, obviously, is what I'm talking about. For Lion, I kind of, you went with Myers, and I understand it. I'm going to go with Lyons for kind of being an underrated because she's the junior out of these three ladies. 9 double-figure scoring games, a double-double. I think she'll benefit a lot from having to step into a new role, that role being the hole, so to speak. And I say hole loosely. I'm more so just mean the gap that is now there for where J.C. Jenkins was, third-team All-American, first-team All-Conference, 21, 8, 55 from the field, almost 50 from the three-point line. I'm going to give her the round up at 0.5%, and then 93 from the field. The girl is shooting 50, 40, 90. You can't get any. Actually, 50, 50, 90. 50, 50, 90. That is a crazy stat line, and the girl can just flat out shoot the ball. She didn't know nothing. She didn't know what a rim sounded like. I can tell. And then you also have Lauren Longmire, first-team all-conference member, 13-5 with 4 assists, 48% from the field, 38% from the three. You are losing a lot of offense, and that's where my hesitation comes from, because 86 points is elite level scoring as a team. I previewed the Chicagoland with Coach Caleb last week as well, a part of that episode, and his team was putting up 92. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were putting up, I think Milligan is a second in the country. I could be wrong, and a lot of numbers in my head right now, but I'm pretty sure that was number 2. The fact that you're losing so much of this offense is concerning. It's concerning. And again, it's not just the scoring aspect. It's the efficiency where I'm really concerned about. You are losing a 50, 50, 90 player and another player who was flirting with 50, 40 when we talk about field goal percentage and three-point percentage. Who steps up? I do think Clark will. She was already a first-team all-conference member. She's going to be that again, unanimous. I'm looking at Myers. I'm looking at Leon. I'm looking at somebody else that this Buff team might bring in this year to try and compensate for it. But again, this team is coming off one of their best years. Again, a first time winning the conference tournament championship, first win in 26 years in the national tournament. So there's a lot of firsts that were happening in it. And I do think this Milligan team will not plummet off of a cliff. But I do think it's going to be a lot harder. I think they're going to need to really try and make sure everybody's on the same page. It might be a little bit more of a cohesive element. I'm not going to be concerned if the scoring comes down because, to be honest, I'm expecting it to. I'm expecting it to come down at least 6 points. Like, if they get to 80 again this year and 80 comfortably, I'm gonna be very impressed because that means that they did their work in the summer. They understand what's going on. They understand their roles, and certain players stepped up in spots that they needed to. If they go any lower than 80, I'm still not going to be concerned. If they're in the 70s, high 70s, even low 70s, I'm going to be okay with that. I just think the offense is going to come back down to earth a little bit, and then we'll kind of have to see where they play out. I think the defense is going to be a little bit more important this year. 68 points per game. You're almost giving up 70. That's a 10-point difference. I think their offense was better than their defense last year. I think this year their defense has to be better than their offense. They're going to have to hold their hats on that side of the ball to be able to compensate for the loss they're going to have on offense. If they do have an 86 again, then we can play this back, and I'm going to apologize. Buffs go crazy. It is what it is. I completely understand. Head over now to the other co-regular season champion and national team, the Royals from Johnson University. Milligan, their schedule, might be top 10 schedule in the entire NAIA. When I look at it, they're opening the season up on the 30th with Lindsey Wilson, a great Mid-South team. Then they've got at Cumberland's, the Patriots. They've got Alice Lloyd, who's going to be a very solid team that we're going to preview in the future. Then they've got Bethel. They've got their first conference game on November 12th against Brew. Then they've got Rio Grande that we're previewing the River States. Then they've got Bluefield, Union. And then you scroll down. They also have Weber International. They've got Southeastern. They have a very solid non-conference slate that I think will help them. Do I think they can go specifically those 4 games? Lindsey Wilson, Cumberland's, Bethel, and Rio Grande. 3 of those are at home. I believe that Lindsey Wilson game is at home because it doesn't say at Lindsey Wilson, but doesn't say versus them either. But I'm going to assume it's at home. So Lindsey Wilson's at home, Patriots on the road, Bethel at home, Rio Grande at home. I think 1-3 is kind of where I'm leaning towards. Are you kind of going anywhere else? Do you think they could go 2-2? Do you think they could go plus 500, above 500? I just feel like the one game I could give them is Lindsey Wilson. Actually, maybe 2-2 is actually more realistic because, again, we don't know what the Patriots are going to have. They're going to be a good team, but I don't know what they're going to have necessarily because they are losing so much offensively as well. So maybe 2-2 should be the goal, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go 1-3. I wouldn't be surprised.
I would say 1-3 is the floor. 2-2 would be.
Where in the building are you? So if 1-3 is the floor, if they go 2-2, how high into the building have you gone, and how tall is this building?
If they go 2-2, they're on like the 5th floor and they're on the 5th floor of a 7-story building.
So you're saying either 3-1 or 4-0, they're going straight to 7. I'm assuming you're skipping 6 at that point.
Oh, 100%. Okay. If they go 3-1, they're on top of the building, on a ladder, going up a helicopter, going into the sky.
Exactly. I like that one. No, yeah, I think that's a good prediction to have. I think 1-3 is just realistic because 3 of these teams, they're just that good. They are that good. I think Bethel and Rio Grande, they're going to be one of the top teams. They might even start being ranked. They will be ranked, I'm pretty sure, when the preseason polls come out. And then Cumberland's and Lindsey Wilson, I think is more in Milligan's speed that they can definitely win 2. But for sure, I think they can get 1 of those 2 games. Now we head over to Johnson. This team for the Royals, first tournament berth in program history to the national tournament. Number 15 seed. They did lose to number 2 Freed Hardeman from the Mid-South in the opening rounds. Again, understandable, one of the best teams in the country. So it's nothing to sneeze at because Johnson, again, back at that level. They won their first regular season championship or title in program history. Granted, it was a co, but still, some people would love to take a co over not having a championship altogether. So congratulations to them as well. This team, through the notes, through all that kind of stuff, defense was the identity for this team, and I'm going to talk about that once you talk about all the people that are coming back, because they have 8 returners confirmed. They've got a 5th year for Jordan Heifner. They've got a sophomore in Emery Bargana, and then you've got Bakana Gardner and Megan Bilter. Bilter going to be a sophomore, and then Bakana going to be a junior. Talk to me about what this team is returning, because they are losing a good amount. I don't think it's a lot. I think Milligan is losing more, in my opinion, even though Johnson's losing 3 key players. I do think that they're going to be able to compensate for it. But talk to me a little bit about what this team is bringing back this year for the AAC.
In the first team all conference and all defensive member, Jordan Heifner put up 13.5 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals on 37% from the field. Emery Barragona, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 32% as a freshman. You have Becca Gardner, 7 points, 2 rebounds on very efficient, almost 40% from the field and from 3. And Megan Billiter, who's also on the all-freshman team, 4 points, 4 boards, 37% from the field. I like this Johnson team. I won't lie to you. I can't lie to you. I do like it. But I'll tell you what I don't like after you talk about your side.
This team for me is very. It's funny because comparing them to the Buffs, I would say I'm higher on just the two teams. I'm higher on Johnson by the smidgest margin, and it's really just because Milligan's offense was so good last year. I don't know if they can replicate that without Jenkins and Longmire holding it down, to be honest with you. They were the backbones of that offense. For Johnson, because their defense was their identity. Whenever I was going through the articles, whenever I was going through the website, all I kept hearing was a great season that was led by their defense. A great season that was led by their defense. The defense for the Royals was the key for win after win after win. The team went 24-6 last year. Again, first conference tournament championship, regular season championship, and then first berth in the national tournament. They are losing Hannah Jones, who's a first-team all-conference member. She put up 16-7 on 54% shooting last year. Then Emily Wilson, who put up almost 12 on 36, 32, 83, 84, really. So flirting with kind of 50, 40, 90 if we're looking at it. But again, a very efficient score. And then Sophia Singer, 7, 45, 37 from the 3, almost 38. They are losing more in the sense of the number of people because, again, Milligan's only losing 2 players. But I think Milligan is losing more from a production standpoint. And I think because you're returning a 5th year in Jordan, because you've got such a young 3-headed monster, so to speak, with Bargana, Gardner, and Billiter all being juniors or lower, 2 of them being sophomores that were on their all-freshman teams last year, I think their ceiling for this year is a lot higher. I think their potential is what I'm kind of banking on. I'm very excited for this team because if your defense is already what it was last year and you had some young pieces playing that role, you bring those young pieces back, you add in a leader and culture person in the sense of production and locker room in Hefner, it gives me something to be excited about for a lot more this year. Their defense was really good, and I still think there's a level that they can really hone in on. I think if this team gets to 60 opponents' points per game, they were at 63 last year. If they can get that to 60, I think they'll be a very, very good team this year. They could probably get their first outright regular season title in program history. That's kind of where I am with them. Both teams, Milligan and Johnson, for me, it's about the defense. And because of that, I'm going with Johnson because they proved that they can be a better defense than the Milligan Buffs. Again, play style plays into it. Obviously, the Buffs play a lot faster. If you're going to put up 86 points per game, clearly you're getting up and down the court, which is going to allow for some extra points. But I'm going off of what I saw from the stats. I think Johnson's going to have a better year just because of the defense aspect of it. But where's your head at when we talk about these two teams comparing the 2 regular season champions? Which one do you think could have the better nod or argument for an outright title this year?
I think that it'll go. I think that the rankings will stay the same. And I will vouch for this Milligan team. And I use your logic. You said, I'm going to try to quote you, particularly that you envision this Milligan team dropping about 6 points per game.
Give or take, yes.
Give or take. If they drop 6 points per game from what they still promoted last year, they're still
80
the
points.
top.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
still 80 points per game.
Absolutely. I get that.
I think that it's obviously still a very elite offense.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's not going to phase them too much as far as their replacement. Because yes, they dropped from 86 to 80, but they're still going to be efficient. They're still going to be able to crash the boards, which displays opportunities for second chances that they're very good at. And they're still going to take advantage of the opportunities to get a quick basket while still shooting very efficiently from the three, which other teams aren't. And that is why I think that Milligan will stay on top. It may be another co-regular season champion again, possibly, but I don't see a world yet where Milligan will take over. The only way that I see it taking over
You
is
mean Johnson? You said Milligan takes over. You mean
yeah,
Johnson?
yeah. I don't see a world where it's Johnson taking over. The only reality where I see that is whoever steps up for Johnson really steps up.
And I get that because as I was saying, obviously I knew 6 points you're still at 80 in elite offense. But my other side, and then we'll talk about Johnson's schedule and head over to Reinhardt. My reason for being on my side of that argument is because what I said at the end. The play style clearly obviously affects how many points you allow and score. So if you're getting up and down, right, you might lose 6 points. You're still putting up 80, but the efficiency might not be there because you might be shooting a lot more. Just because you're getting 80 doesn't mean that necessarily you're shooting at a great clip. Because yes, 86 is very important. I'm looking at the 48 almost percentage from the field. I'm looking at the 35, almost 36 from the 3-point line. Like that's where I'm looking at when I talk about the offense will take a dip. And if it takes a dip in the efficiency, it may hurt a lot more. And then the play style aspect, we're getting up and down. If we're losing 6 points, that's 3 possessions. That means that in those 3 possessions, let's say those 3 possessions now turn into offensive buckets for the other team, offensive opportunities for the other team. Things are looking a little bit different. And now maybe you're putting up 80, but you also might be allowing 6 more. If you're losing 6 points, I'm throwing those 6 points now over to the opponents. So instead of you allowing 68 points per game, now you're over 70. And now you're looking at it as being maybe it's not as good. 68 to 86 looks great. 70, I said 6 points, so is that 74 to 80? That's a lot different. And then you look over at Johnson, 73 to 63 is a 10-point gap. You drop down that by 1 possession. Just stop the opponents by 1-3. Put them at 60 at least. That's 13-point difference. It's a lot better of a point differential. So that's kind of where I'm going with this Johnson. I think I might be a little high on them than I thought. Now hearing myself talk about it, I might be a little bit higher on these Royals, and then I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do this year. Looking at their schedule, they've got Bethel to open the season at Bethel. Great test for them. I'm very excited for that game. It's a Halloween game. I'll be in St. Louis for our season, but I might have to tune in, pop my head out for that one. And then
You might just.
in November, we've got Campbellsville, Cumberland's at Cumberland's, obviously talking about Tennessee. 3 Mid-South games to start, 2 of them on the road. Tell me you want to have a great year without telling me you want to have a great year. They clearly said we're going to go out and try and schedule the best. They did that. 3 teams that are going to be very, very great next year. Then you've got GGC out of the CAC. And then you saw your first conference game at Truett McConnell, then versus Pikeville versus Columbia, and then you round out. Looking down a little bit lower at their standings, they actually do have another game against Cumberland's of Tennessee, so that could be a nice little 1-1 there to keep an eye on when it comes to the end of the year. This team is very good. I do think both Lex and I are very excited for what they're going to bring. Now, where they land, obviously we're going to disagree on a little bit, but I do think this team is going to be primed for a very solid and continue to add to the history books this year. Reinhardt, the Eagles. Little concern with this Eagles crew. Now, Niala Camper, all freshman team member. Isa McCutcheon was also a close to all-conference player. I think she should have honestly probably been there. I think she's actually an all-freshman team member, or should have been. I think that's what I was thinking about when I was looking at the notes. And then Lafina Campbell, she was a second-team all-conference member, all-defensive team. That's what you're returning. Nothing, I'm be honest, nothing that really excites me too much. Obviously development, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see. For Campbell, she was putting up almost 10 points a game. For Isaiah, she was putting up almost 8 points a game. There's something there, but I'm honestly leaning towards this kind of being a retooling developing year, not from a standpoint of it might not be that many wins, but just from a standpoint of you're probably still like the playoffs. I could see them still being a playoff team, just a lower seed. I don't think they'll be a top 3 seed next year. I think they'll be closer to that middle of the pack, just because they're gonna have some younger pieces coming in. You're going to be adding in some new places. Now, again, they go out and get a transfer, and all this could be moo. But I think you're losing a lot more than I know you're going to get into. And already you were at 69 points per game, 61 opponents points per game. It's an 8-point gap. The offense wasn't bad. It wasn't great either. You're at 40% from the field, 30% from the 3-point line. You were barely winning the rebound battle last year, 36 to 35. The turnover battle was pretty good, not great. So I think that this team it was a very good year for the Eagles. I don't know if they're going to have that same success this year, especially because, like, you're going to talk about what they're losing, because they are losing a lot, especially offensively.
The biggest name that, kind of pops out is Conference Newcomer of the Year for the AAC, with Noel Laveri is no longer with the Eagles. 17 points, 50% from the field. You know what? We're just going to have to round it up. That's a 50, 40, 90 split.
It is. It really is.
It really is. 49% from the field, 37 from 3, 89% from the free throw line. They're also losing a very, very reliable Julia Kraft. 11 points, 3 boards, 45% from the field, 35 from 3. With the sophomore core that's returning with this team, their depth and experience is no longer there. So I wouldn't even call it a rebuilding year. Anywhere from that. I think it's they retool their freshmen, now sophomores, to prepare to take into a more leadership type of role. That way, by the time their junior years come, possibly their senior years, they're set up for success.
Again, and like I said, like Lex said, we're not saying rebuild. If anything, we'll use sophomore dependent. If the sophomore class this year hits, if they come back from the offseason and they're 2 levels above what they were their freshman year, which is possible. Again, you never know what these ladies are doing in the offseason. Then they're gonna have a great year. They're gonna have probably another top 3 seed type of year. But if they don't hit, and it's more of like just continuing the process, continuing to get better, then we could see them kind of dropping a little bit more. I'm very excited for this team because I don't know what to expect in that aspect. I think the sophomore class could jump, but it's kind of like what you said, Lex. They're a year away from being a year away. The sophomore group does a very good job this year. By junior year, they're going to be probably a AAC regular season and conference champion contender. And then their sophomore year, they could do it all over again. So I'm very excited to see what the future is for this team. But I think this is kind of the starting point, and then we're going to just move up from there. Looking at their schedule, they're open. Their first game of the season is against a conference opponent. It is a conference game. It's going to be versus Brew. It's going to be at home. And then you've got Kaiser at home as well. Then you've got Faulkner. Then you've got another Mid-South situation with Lindsey Wilson and Campbellsville, both on the road. Tough games for those. I think experience was going to definitely come in a factor there. I think we could see, again, this Eagles team can definitely upset one of these teams. We saw that throughout last year. But I do feel like they're going to be leaning more towards them kind of being on the wrong side of the record on that case. And you go scroll down a little bit. They've got Coastal Georgia Gwinnett. So very, very good. Nothing crazy, but a very solid schedule that I think has a few key games, like I mentioned, the Mid-South games there, but then a few games that can definitely help their resume while still improving their record overall. Now we're going to head over to one of my teams. Calling it now. I know I talked about it earlier with Lex.
I'm with you.
We are going to, when the season starts, pick our 10 teams. You said 20. One team per conference that we're going to call our team, that we're going to rock with all year, no matter what type of year they're having. For me, and it sounds like for Lex, even though we're probably going to talk about it because we can't overlap, so we're going to have to figure out how to make it even here. The University of Pikeville Bears, they are for sure. I went dark horse. I really was about to say like sleeper. Like I think sleeper is a little bit above dark horse. I think dark horse kind of gives the same feeling of like a puncher's chance. Like you get one good punch, you might have a chance of winning that fight. I think this Bears team has more than a puncher's chance to win the AAC this year. I think this Bears team has more than a puncher's chance to win the conference championship this year. That's how high I am on them. So I was kind of going more of a sleeper, under the radar type of team. But I just think dark horse sounds cooler. Talk to me about why you like this Bears team. There's a lot to like, so let me know which parts you're going at and I'll set you up with it. Allie Stone, senior, coming back. Rachel Bush, junior, coming back. And Jalea Warren, who was an all-freshman team last year, coming into her year two. Those three ladies are obviously going to be the spearhead. So what do you like from those three ladies, and what do you like from this overall Bears crew?
As a group, these ladies, those three particularly, are pushing 45 points. They're pushing almost 15 boards. Wow. Shooting well over 48% as a group. You have Allie Stone, third team, NAIA All-American, first team all-conference, 22 points per game. I gotta say that again, 22 points per game. 4 boards, 4 assists. Very clear, 50, 40, 90. 50 field goal percentage, 45% from the three, 92% from the free throw line. Rachel Bush, first team all conference and all defense, 14 points, 8 boards, 51% from the field, 36% from the three, 94% from the free throw line. Jalea Warren, all freshman team, 8 points, 3 boards, 45% from the field, 41 from three. What I really like about this team is the defensive presence is threatening enough to scare.
I like that.
It really is. And with that, it's in a conference that is no longer going to be so offensively heavy. That is a great thing to still have with you coming into the season.
This is
Genuinely.
the team that I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Milligan, that I was saying I think they're returning more because, in my opinion, again, come for me in the comments if you want, I think you have the best duo in the conference when you talk about Allie Stone and Rachel Bush. Again, Allie being a third-team All-American, Bush being a first-team All-Conference member. Both ladies combined putting up about 22-14, gives you about 36 or so, almost 40 points. Just the two of those ladies each. And then you've got efficient scoring. You can tell I'm a very big efficient guy. Both ladies are shooting just about 50% from the field. Both ladies are shooting over 35% from the three-point line. Both ladies are shooting over 90% from the free throw line. When you talk about individual stats, you've got Stone. She had 27 double-figure scoring games, 16 20 balls is in that 27, and 3 times she crossed 30 points, as well as very good at facilitating the offense. 9 5+ assist games. So it's not like she's just out there trying to get buckets. She's out there finding her teammates. She understands she's going to draw so much attention. She does not no issues making plays for others, creating offenses, almost being like a decoy out there, coming off ball screens. They're going to double, hit the roll, man. Coming off ball screens, they're going to help swing it one more to the shooter in the corner. So I think she's going to have a very good year. I think the scoring may go down. I'm not going to say she's going to have 22 points per game again. She probably will. But I'm thinking more of like the assists and rebounds are going to go up, because even the rebounds, she had 8 games where she went 5 or more on the rebounds. So she's doing a little bit of everything. She had some games where she was flirting with triple doubles, finishing with about, I think it was like 15 and like 6 assists and 7 rebounds, stuff like that. So she's right there. I think she maybe takes the scoring down a little bit. The efficiency will stay the same though, which is what I really care about. You can score 20, you can score 15, but if you're still shooting efficient from the field, I'm cool either way. But if the rebounds and assists go up, now that's where I'm really excited for what's going on. And then for Bush, 23 double-figure scoring games, 720 balls. She had a very good offensive season. I think these two, again, are the best duo in the conference, especially offensively focused. These two ladies are going to be up there when we talk about what they're doing on the offense side of the ball. Might be on a national level even what they can do, because Rachel Bush, the scoring may go down for Stone, but the scoring for Bush will go up. And if both these ladies, which is completely possible, if both of them cross 20 points per game consistently, now you're looking at a very dangerous offense. I like what you said about the defense. It's threatening. Something is there. And the reason I like it, I don't know why you went with threatening, but the reason I agree with it, look at the turnovers. The turnovers are 12 to 11.5.
That's why.
About 12 and 12. So they're even. So for you to have teams under 62 points per game, under 37% from the field, under 30% from the three-point line, but your turnovers aren't high, to me that tells me that you're a really good defense that just makes it uncomfortable. You might not force a lot of turnovers. It happens. Maybe you're just not focused on that side of the defense, but you're still contesting shots, still forcing tough shots. You're still making them have to work for the entire 30 seconds of the shot clock, which to me, a bad shot is just like a turnover. In my book, if I shoot a bad shot, it clanks off the rim and we're going and out, and now that feeds into our transition game. I'm cool with it. They were putting up about 13 points per game in the transition. That's off of opponents' turnovers. So imagine the ones that didn't count as turnovers. Imagine the ones that were bad shots, end of the shot clock, throw up a prayer, it doesn't get answered, now we're going the other way in transition. That's where I feel like this team is really, really going to excel next year. Milligan was over 80 last year. I got the Bears going over 80 this year on the offense side of the ball. I think this team is really good. I'm very high on them. I think they're returning, again, probably the best in the conference from a production standpoint, from a number standpoint. We also, we kind of touched on her, Jalea Warren, all freshman team. She might be under the radar because she's only going to her sophomore year, but she's going to be able to just realize how much opportunity she has because all the other people are going to be kind of the gravity of the other defense. They're going to worry about a Stone. They're going to worry about a Bush. So Warren's just going to walk into about 10 points per game next year. I promise you she will. She crossed over that about 9 times last year as a freshman, so she's only going to get better. She's only going to get more opportunities. This team has a three-headed monster offensively that is brewing, and they've got the best duo in the conference for me offensively that the AAC has to offer.
I don't think he said anything wrong. I completely agree. This Pikeville team, and I'm pretty sure we're on the same page here, but I'm very hesitant to place them as number one right off the bat. But if anybody had the ability to kind of change our rankings, it's them.
No, for sure. And looking at their schedule, again, tell me you want to have a good year without telling me you want to have a good year. November 1st, on the road, Marian University versus Pikeville. That might be one of our underrated sleeper games of the week because that could go Pikeville's way. Now, I'm not saying it will, but it could. I've seen crazier things.
It really could.
And then you got your first conference game right after that against Bluefield later in the month on November 12th. That'll be at home. Columbia International, Johnson, Montreat. Then you've got another Lindsey Wilson, Campbellsville crossover, so to speak. It looks like Campbellsville and Lindsey Wilson are going to have a lot of AAC games. It looks like a lot of AAC teams wanted to try their luck against the Blue Raiders and the Tigers. Nothing against it for sure. Then you've got Rio Grande and Freed Hardeman at the end of December, towards the end of December. Similar to before, would I say this is a top 10 schedule? No. Maybe if they had another non-conference game in there that I was really like, whoa, that's going to be a good one. But I do think this is a very good schedule that I think kind of what you've been saying in the past. Schedules can tell you a lot about a team, especially the non-conference part of your schedule. This tells me that their coaching staff is very excited for what they have. They think that they can compete with some of the big dogs. And they, for lack of a better term, are pushing their chips all the way to the middle this year because I think they have a good older experienced group while still a young group that can develop and benefit from these tough games like the Lindsey Wilsons and Marians of the world. So I'm very excited for this Bears crew, and I think they're going to be a shock to some teams come late February, early March. Montreat, the Cavaliers, returning 5 players, losing 2, mainly one key one. You've got 10 newcomers. The roster breakdown for them: 4 freshmen, 3 sophomores, 6 juniors, 2 seniors. Very balanced. I think it's good on both sides of the coin there. A few key transfers before we talk about who they're coming back and who's leaving. Donna Young and Samaya Mitchell, 2 transfers that the coaching staff is very excited about, as well as Sarah Williams, a freshman that's going to be going into her first year with the Cavaliers at the college level. What are you more concerned about? Or what catches your eye more? I'll say that. What they're returning in Katie Alexander, Ramaya Sanders, and Anaya Varela, or what they're losing in Virginia Edmondson and Maddie Farah? Which one are you going to talk about because you feel like that's the bigger news or bigger aspect of their offseason?
They're losing, for sure. I kind of went back and forth on where this Montreat team kind of falls just because I think it's so even in the grand scheme of things, but there is one outlier that does stand out. Virginia Edmondson, first team all conference, first team all defense, and defensive player of the year. 20 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, almost 4 steals on 46% from the field and 30% from the 3-point line. I think anybody who experiences somebody of that caliber leaving their team is going to take a hit. I just think that that's something that you cannot recover from within a year, 2 years. I think it's something that you're going to have to recruit and develop to try to fill in a gap, but not one person can fill in that gap. I think it'll have to be a 2 or 3 person try to, make up for, especially the defensive presence that Edmonton brought. With that, you can't also ignore Matthew Ferreira, 7 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, 35% from the field, 38% from the 3-point line. It's concerning. They are bringing back a solid amount, definitely, but I personally can't ignore the 2 that they're losing because this team, for what they provided, for what their statistics are, forcing about 20 turnovers as a group, I can tell you very confidently half of those came from Edmonton. And with that, my biggest hesitation is how they make up a defensive presence. Points, sure, you can spread that across the board. Everybody eats, get a couple layups in there, get back up on top of that. It's the defensive presence that's really scaring me.
I'm with you. And kind of what you were saying earlier about you don't expect to replace a player like Virginia from one recruiting class. It's going to come over time. You're going to have to try and find that. It can happen, but you can't expect that to happen. But you're returning Katie Alexander, Ramaya Sanders, Anaya Varela. Combine, Sanders is your leading scorer, second team all-conference member, 16. Then you've got 5 from both Alexander and Anaya. 10 points, about 26 right there. Not bad. I think it's a good returning group. I am looking at Sanders. I'm going to need an all-conference first team type of season. She played
100%.
23 double-figure scoring games. She had 8 20 balls included there. She did have a 40 ball in there, so the girl can get buckets. Don't get it twisted. 40. I heard it was all drums too. 40 points, straight, spicy, all flats. Might be the jump in there, might have snuck in, but she was out there cooking. So I do think she's going to have a very good year. I'm looking at Katie Alexander too. I think she had a very solid season for her first year in the college level. 3 double-figure scoring games, 3 10-plus rebound games, 14 5-plus rebound games, 7 10-plus assist games, 2 double-doubles. The girl was doing everything. She was checking off every single box that you would like to have her freshman.
She might get a triple-double average.
I think she could. I mean, she's flirting with it right now. For a freshman, I like this stat line of 5, 5, and 7. Like, that is some stat lines that even upperclassmen would love to have, as well as over 30% from the field. If we can get some 3-ball in there, again, maybe that's not her game, and obviously we'll know more about that as the year comes. But if she can get that and really keep defenses honest with her scoring, I think the scoring has to. If the scoring goes up, watch the assists go up, because I feel like there's a correlation, because now the defense can't play you as a playmaker and a facilitator. They got to play you as a two-way ability, as a dual threat offensive ability player. Hey, I want to pass. I want to get my teammates involved, but don't get it twisted. I will get a quick bucket if y'all disrespect my ability to shoot the ball, score at the rim, be a 3-level scorer. So I'm looking at her to maybe have the biggest impact on where this Montreat team goes. I think Sanders will slide into that number 1 spot. I think Sanders will lead this team offensively, and I think that's completely fine. We know that. Who is the next one to help her? And I think it's going to be Katie. And then Varela, she's just going to be a very good Swiss Army knife for them. I think she can have a type of year where whenever the team needs it, she can provide it. If it's scoring, she can do that. She had 4 10+ scoring games. If it's rebounding, she can do that. She had 5+ rebound scoring games. It's just going to be kind of a whatever we need on that specific night, she's going to be able to do it and do it at a very good level, very high level. So this team, again, kind of what you said, I don't know where to put them, but I do know they're losing a lot, so I'm leaning more towards maybe having a setback. But at the same time, I don't know if they're going to have a setback because, like we talk about them, the AAC, sometimes it did feel a little top-heavy to me. Like, even when I was doing my tiers, I wanted to change some things around, but then I would look back and I'm like, I can't. Like, it feels like there is a significant difference between the first 5 that we talked about and then the next few that we're going to mention in a moment here. Montreat's schedule is out. They're opening the season up against Faulkner on the 24th. And they've got William Carey. Very good 2 games to start their year. Then they're going to head up to Kentucky where they've got Bresia University from the River as well as Oakland City. 2 tough teams that I think will provide tests that I don't know if Montreat is the favorite in. But if they do win those games, then I'm turning my head to be a little bit more excited about. Nothing crazy, but I think those are turning games for me because those 2 teams can be very, very good next year. Then you head on over. Your first conference game is going to be against Union. It's going to be on the road. Then Columbia, and then you've got Pikeville as well. Scrolling down a little bit here, you've got GGC, and then you've got pretty much the rest of the season going to be conference games throughout. I think they are what they are. They're going to be a solid middle-of-the-pack team that if certain people like Alexander and a Sanders step into roles that I think they will, maybe we're flirting with the 4th seed, 3rd seed is like, I think the 3rd seed is the ceiling. If you get the 3rd seed, you had a great year, Montreat, and you should deserve a round of applause for it. If you have the 5th seed, it's nothing bad. I just think the conference around you is kind of moving in a weird spot, and I think they're kind of playing the long game, to be honest with you. So, but we'll see with these 10 newcomers. This team could be brand new next year when we start getting to actually playing ball. So I'm very excited to see from that aspect. But overall, I think this team is kind of just in middle of the pack right now. Maybe top of the middle of the pack, though, but middle of the pack nonetheless. Head over to Bryan. The Lions. Very, they're a very, very team. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're very just, some things there. They have a very good returning group. They've got a sophomore, 3 juniors coming back. You are losing Tori Brooks, first team conference member, 14-4 with 2 steals, 41 from the field, 34 from the 3-point line, 84 from the freaking line. She was flirting with a double, with a triple, with a 54.
Really was.
She wasn't flirting with it directly, but she was talking to it. They had exchanged text messages, so she was there with it. My concern, and I'll let you talk about the players, but my concern for the team is just, and I even ask you this, and you can put your 2 cents on it. I'm more concerned about the offense than the defense. Granted, there was a 3-point difference, 67 and 64. They were on the high side at least, but I feel like the offense is my concern because that was you with Brooks. It was a 14-point per game score. Now you're bringing back players who didn't cross 10+ last year. They were close, a few 9 points per game that I know you're going to touch on here. But my concern is the offense. I think the offense is going to be my biggest circle because the defense, I think, right now, that's not bad. 40% from the field for your opponents is not great. So it could get better, but it's not bad. If they were to do the same exact thing next year, I'm okay with it. Out of the 2 stats, if you told me I get to pick either Bryan does the same exact thing on offense or defense, which one would you live with? I'm living with the defense. I think the defense was good enough, serviceable enough in this conference to be a playoff team. The offense got to be better. Got to be better. Do you agree?
No, and I'll tell you why. I think that based off of the 4 that we'll touch on that are coming back with Leah Stinnett, Autumn Davis, Katie Farrell, and Ashlyn Credenton, or Credenton. I'm not going to butcher names like you are. I think with the 4 that they were bringing back, we have the ability to make up for those 14 points, if not more. Everybody has the potential to step up. Autumn Davis, I see, taking in the first team all conference leap with stepping into maybe like a 14-4-4 like Tory Brooks was putting out. I also see Elias Sinet, all freshman, stepping into a 10-5. Katie Farrell, double right there automatically.
I will say before when you mentioned that she did only play 5 games and they were at the beginning of the year, so we're not saying I don't know what happened, but that is part
Come
of it.
on
So
now.
she's coming back. That could be a very good piece. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So I wanted to let you know just that she only played 5 games. In those 5 games, she's pretty much averaging double. So I do think that you have a good point there. But go on, continue.
Ashton pretending. My prediction. Give me 11-5. And you're already better than last year. Just based off of what I just said. Just off of those 4 predictions. And that's not anything crazy. That's literally 2 points per person, except for Autumn Davis. Autumn Davis is going to need a bit of a leap, but that happened because she's next in line.
This team is not. This team is, again,
I'm higher on this team than you are.
You are, and that's completely fine. I will say for Ashlyn, 11, 10 plus scoring games. She had 2 double-doubles in there. She had 11 games where she rebounded 5 or more times. Then you look over at Autumn Davis, which I do agree is the next one that I'm looking at. 12 double-figure scoring games, 5 plus assist games, 4 5 plus rebound games. So she was filling up the stat sheet. I do think she should be jumping into a bigger role. I think the scoring has to get better because of just the fact of the team's looking at you to score more. You got to score more. It is what it is. So go out there and get buckets. And not an inefficient score at all. Again, over 40% from the field and over 34% from the three-point line. She can do it. Maybe the percentages might take a little bit of a hit. More shots, it's going to happen. But I do think she's going to be my face of this offense for the future. I just really think the offense is my concern. Because, yes, you can collectively put up 14 a night. But again, It's 14 on 41, 34, 84 from the splits. None of those players, aside from Ashlyn and Davis, crossed 40. And then in Ashlyn's case, she wasn't really a three-point scorer like that. So Davis was the only one out of the 4 that we mentioned. Davis was the only one that was really putting up efficient, putting up three-point attempts, like enough to where we know when we do our notes, we don't really put three-point percentage if we don't feel like those players shot enough. Like there's just no point. You shot 0% from the field from the three-point line because you didn't shoot any. So I'm not going to say that because there's no point in saying that. You went 1 for 2. You went 1 for 2 for the year. I'm not going to say you're a 50% three-point shooter because that's not realistic. So I do think
respect the stats, my guy.
I respect the stats. I do, but I also got to think about it from a whole picture. Now, if all 4 of these ladies come back and they're shooting the ball from the three-point percentage a little bit better, even as a team, 30% from the three-point line, you're losing that battle to your opponents at 34, almost or 38, 32, almost 33. So I do think the offense is my biggest concern. If they can get their offense humming on a better level, not even another level. I don't need a big jump, but can we get more efficient? Can we beat? I'm gonna take a book out of your. I'm gonna take a play out of your book. If this Lions team can beat their opponents on the field goal percentage and the three-point percentage, I think they're gonna be just fine. I think they'll be just fine. You're losing both of those. You're losing the field goal percentage 32 to 40, 32 to 41 really, and then like I mentioned, three-point percentage by almost 3 percentage points. You do those things, I think they're gonna be fine. They'll be just peachy, and they'll be a very, very good team in the AAC. Their schedule is out. Stop me if you heard this before. They've got Cumberland and Tennessee to open the season with them. Then that'll be on October 27th. I'm telling you, Cumberland and Tennessee is gonna have an all AAC schedule. I'm here for it, though. I think it's going to be really, very good. I think this Cumberland team is going to be solid. I think they're going to be turning some heads. And I think the AAC kind of fits what they're looking to do because there's already going to be some good teams in this conference. Then you got Oakland City. Freed Hardeman's on here as well, another Mid-South team. That'll pretty much be the entire non-conference side of their schedule. Actually, they got Freed Hardeman on here twice, so that's a very, very good thing for them. They also got Central Methodist on here as well. So actually, this team's got some sneaky hitters on here. You just got to get down to the nitty gritty for sure. Very solid non-conference schedule. I think it's going to be very good for them. Their first conference game is against Truett McConnell. That is going to be on November 12th. That's going to be at home. So not bad. I think more heavy hitters than I thought, for sure. So I give them credit for that. Absolutely. How those games go doesn't really sway me so much, but how the offense performs in those games is what I'm more concerned about, especially when we get to conference time in the new calendar year. Tennesse Wesleyan, the Bulldogs. I see a lot of Bulldogs in this conference when I was looking back. We talked a lot about Milligan and Johnson and this and that. I feel like we've spent a good time on them for warranted reasons. Tennesse was 5 points away from winning the conference championship in the finals. They lost in overtime to Milligan by 4. 5 points, 2 possessions. Things a little bit different maybe. Maybe they're the ones in there, and either Milligan or Johnson are the ones that lead. Because I do believe a big reason that both teams made is because Milligan won the conference championship, so they got an automatic berth, and so then the AAC was able to give Johnson the second one. I do think one of those teams could have missed if Tennesse wins. Like, Tennesse could have had an effect on both those teams' postseasons for sure. This Bulldogs crew, I think their losses and their returning are very even. I'm going to let you take this team.
I don't.
Really?
What?
Really? I will say this, and I don't know if you know this. Tally Lawson, 37% from the field, almost 38. He only played 11 games. So another player who didn't have a full season out there. I do think if you forced me, the seesaw leans a little bit more towards the what they're losing, because you are losing literally all conference members. I am going to
force you, because let's be serious. What are we talking about?
All right, go ahead, dog. You seem very passionate about this one. Talk to me about this Tennesse Wesleyan team and what you feel like is their biggest room for improvement, because they're kind of similar to Bryan, where the offense and the defense is kind of almost even.
Their biggest room for improvement is going to be this recruiting class. I think that just on paper, from what we know right now, don't chastise us, but based off of what you're returning, your star, your best player, your key standout is off freshman Jayala Lindsay. 12 points, 3 boards, 40% from the field as a freshman. Very good. And then you also bring back Tally Lawson, 6 points, 38% from the field. But then you also said that was 5 games. So we also can't ignore who they're losing. 2 second-team all-conference members, one of them also being defense. Anna Crowder and Jacelyn Stone. 13 points, 8 boards, 3 assists for Crowder. 16 points, 5 boards for Stone. 30 points as a group. 13 boards as a group. They're both shooting 43% from the field. Crowder shooting 40% from the 3. See how you're silent right now? It's a lot.
I won't lie. You've convinced me a little bit. You've convinced me. I just think I was really high on the unknown for this team. I think I was really good. I am really high on Jayla Lindsay. I think she'll have a very good season. She had 7 double-figure scoring games. There was a 20 ball in there. She had one double-double. She had 2 games with 10-plus rebounds. So I feel like I'm just really excited for this team more so than anything. You are losing a lot. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Maybe I was trying to be nice, but for me, this team may have caught fire at the right time. If you're a 7 seed and you're heading into the conference tournament and you make it all the way to the championship, that's a Cinderella run. That's a Cinderella run. That's definitely what that is. If you would have won, I think there's no question I'm calling you a bid stealer, because you stole a for sure top seeds bid and probably knocks out, like I mentioned. I think Tennesse Wesleyan, if they win that final game in the conference tournament, they knock out either Milligan or Johnson. I don't think the committee gives us 3 AAC teams, at least last year. This year, possibly. But last year, I don't think they would have done that. I think they would have given one of those 2 teams, Johnson or Milligan, the boot, unfortunately, just because Tennesse Wesleyan.
Johnson would have got the boot last year. Unfortunately.
Agreed, disagree. But actually, I think you're right. Just because of the 15, they were the 15 seed. I forgot for a second. They were the 15 seed.
Come on, man.
Like I said, numbers. There's a lot of numbers going on here. But overall, this Tennesse team, It might be another similar to Reinhardt, not as good as Reinhardt in the sense of I think Reinhardt's closer to still being a top seed, even though I don't think they will be, but they're closer to that than Tennesse Wesleyan is. I think they're going to retool this year. Like you mentioned, the recruiting class is going to be important, so we're going to definitely have to wait and see kind of for this team. Not a bad team. I don't think they'll miss the postseason, but they'll be on the line for sure because some of these teams going behind them are going to get a lot better, in my opinion. Then you head over to their schedule is not out, by the way, for the Bulldogs. Columbia College in South Carolina. Round of applause. New head coach, Takara Toland. She will be taking over coaching the Koalas. Not the scariest team in the world, not the scariest animal in the world, not the first animal you think of. But I'm here for the Koalas. I don't know why, but I'm here for
Koalas are crazy.
You know what? Maybe I need to tap in with my National Geographic side of the world.
You do. Go visit the zoo, man.
Yeah, maybe I should. I haven't gone to the zoo in a long time. Though. I would love to go to the zoo. I might have to go for sure. But Coach Toland going to be taking over for the Koalas. We're kind of going to preview them fairly quickly because again, with new coaches, you can't really do too much. Their roster, I do believe it is out. It is out. They only have, from what I saw, 2 main returners coming back, and that is Tysana Lowe and then Layla Wall. Second team all-conference member for Lowe. She put up 25 double-figure scoring games, 3 20 balls. She had 23 of her last 25 games last year were double-figure scoring games to end the year. The only 2 that weren't were the last 2 of the season. And then she also had 2 10-plus rebounding games, 2 double-doubles. Basically, she had a very good year as a sophomore. I think her junior year she should be a first-team all-conference at least contender. Maybe she misses it by like a vote or 2, but I think she's going to definitely be able to get in that nod. And then Layla Wall, senior, 6'3" and 3 on very efficient 32%, almost 33% from the field. I think it's similar to what I talked about earlier, a Swiss Army knife player, a very solid glue player that I think every coaching and every culture would love to have. So I think her leadership will definitely be noticed on and off the court. We're not going to deep dive too much in this team. They are losing Michaela Street and Tamaria Davis, 11 and 9 for each of them in the scoring department. But I think I had seen Coach Toland coach. She coached at Clinton College last year that we did play against, and they're in the NCCAA. They were a number 3 seed in the national tournament. They were a deep run, maybe I think it was a few games away from getting to the championship game. So she knows how to bring out a winning culture, and I think she's going to do that at Columbia. Not too much to talk about aside from I'm excited for this new era, and this could be a team that bumps up in the standings next year on the backs of their new head coach and on the backs of the recruiting class that they are going to bring in, because coach can definitely go out and find the specific type of player that she's looking for to equate that to success and wins in the record books. Their schedule is out, though. Their schedule is out. They have Morris. They have Morris to start the season. Then they got Morris again on the road, kind of home and home there to start the year. Then they've got Rio Grande, which I think is a great pickup for them. A good test. And then they're opening their conference season with Spartanburg Methodist, which obviously we haven't talked about yet, Bluefield, Johnson, Columbia. I will say this about this schedule. It's a doozy because, one, I'm not counting I believe this is in the exhibition. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. December 10th, they would have played 12 actual games that will count towards your record. Of those 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are on the road. And of those 8 that are on the road, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are conference games. So you are going to be tested on this travel.
They may have a mileage quota they have to reach for the year.
Possibly. Obviously, we don't know where the A's, like how far these schools are from each other, so maybe they're really close. But I will say this. The flip side is also very important. Remember, you played everybody twice, home and home. If you got those games now, by the end of the year, that means you've got about 8 to 5 home games for your conference. that are probably going to be great. I'm definitely on the side of I'd rather have more home games on the back end than the front end of the schedule, because I think the front end tests you more when you're on the road early, and in the back end you can try and make up for some ground, but at the same time you feel
Fine tune before the playoffs.
exactly. So I do think there's a level of comfortability that helps you. So I do think this Columbia schedule might be strategically planned out, and I'm excited to see what they do. I'm very high on them. And being a playoff team, more solidified playoff team, I think they can definitely creep up in the standings a little bit, especially because the two teams we talked about before them might slide back a little. So Columbia and then the Koalas are going to be a dastardly little bunch for sure. And again, Lex said it. Koalas are dangerous. Koalas are dangerous. I get it.
Do your research, man.
Now we're going to head over to Truett McConnell, the Bears. A lot of Bears in this conference too. These next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next 5 teams that were in the AAC last year, obviously we haven't talked about Spartanburg yet. We can kind of touch on them fairly quickly because I think you can put them all together in one specific thing. I think they all need to improve their offense. I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to do this a little differently. We're going to touch on each one fairly quickly, but as a whole. I just feel like, again, when I said the 65-point club, Lex said the quota conference, you have to meet a certain standard to be a playoff team. I'm going to go down the stats so that you understand what I'm talking about. Truett McConnell, they were 56 points per game, 38 from the field, 30 from the three-point line. Then you've got Union, the Bulldogs, 65, 40%, 28 from the three-point line. And you've got the Tigers from Brew, 58, 33, 28. And you've got Bluefield Rams, 56, 34, 22. And then Columbia International Rams, 54, 33, 25. There is a noticeable gap between those 5 teams. Granted, yes, Truett McConnell and Union made the postseason, but I think that's because the conference was 10 deep. The tournament was 10 deep. If it was 8, I think it's a safe bet that Truett McConnell and Union did not make the postseason. Is there a team out of this group that you feel, well, first of all, do you agree with what I said with it's got to be offense first? Like these teams, obviously the defense can always get it better, but even still, I mean, Truett McConnell, 59 opponents points per game. Union got to get better. You're allowing 72 points per game for sure. That's not going to work. The Tigers, 66. The Rams from Bluefield, 72. And then the Rams from Columbia International, 74. Yes, the defense can get better. I know that. Don't come to me. I understand that. But my concern is the offense, because you can have the best defense in the world. You still need to score points, because at the end of the day, no matter how many shot clock violations and turnovers you get, if you can't convert them, you might as well not get them.
100%. Wasting time.
Is there a team that you're looking at, though, from the offensive side of things?
Probably Union.
You think Union can do it? Why? Why do you think Union can make that leap a little bit?
I lied. I just disregard what I said. Okay. I just recognize what they're losing.
Okay.
I would probably say Truett is the closest thing.
Truett?
But and I'll make this very clear. In a conference where the standard is to meet the quota, you have to meet the quota. Like, you aren't going to see success without touching 65. We've made that clear. It's the standard. I'm not the creator of the AAC, but it's just what it is. Like, if you aren't touching 65 points per game at the minimum, you're automatically on the bottom quarter of the conference.
I agree with Truett. I'm gonna go with Brew just to give some variety to the conversation.
It's a Breanu.
Sorry, Breanu. Sorry. Come for me in the comments. You could have told me that at the beginning.
I know, but I thought you would.
No,
you
I
would
wasn't
click.
gonna.
There's no W.
You never know. You know there'd be some silent things out there. You don't act like that. Breanu.
The B in Burrows is for butcher of names.
Breanu. I'm just gonna call them the Tigers. The Tigers. I'm going with the Tigers because I think they're returning a good amount of upperclassmen. They've got Anna Galita, Christina Peach, and Sarah Grace Berlettini. Senior, junior, all of them. well, two of them, and Anna and Christina, over 10 points per game at 12 and 11, and then Sarah at 8.9, so just about 10 points per game. Both of them, or all three of them, had at least one 20-point performance. In the case of Christina and Anna, they had a 30 ball as well, and in the case of Sarah, she had a double-double to go along with her stat line for the year. I think the Tigers would be my team to get into that postseason hunt for sure. They are losing Kayla Stafford, second-team all-conference member, 9 points on 38% from the field. It's gonna hurt to not have her, but I think they're gonna have enough returning and from an experience standpoint to try and get back to that level of play. Their schedule is out, and so is Truett McConnell's. For Truett McConnell, they've got Tagla, Tacoa, Embry-Riddle. Nothing that jumps out from a non-conference. They do have, I lied. They have Southeastern down here at the bottom on December 20th. That's going to be a very big one for them. And Coastal Georgia as well, Culver Stockton. So they have some more. I think their heaviest hitter from the non-conference side of things is going to be Southeastern. But then they have some good under-the-radar pickups that are going to be some formidable games for sure. And then for the Tigers, they're going to have GGC to open the season on the 23rd. Then you've got Reinhardt as your first conference game. It's going to be the second game of the season, so very early test for sure. It's going to be on the road as well. Clinton College, Milligan is going to be on November 12th. So not too many non-conference games that are going to jump out to me, even as I'm scrolling down to the bottom of their schedule. But I do think the Tigers can definitely get in there. Lex is going with the Bears. Out of the last three teams, Union and both Rams crews, what do you need to see? I'm sure you can deep dive into it, but give me like 3 quick hits on all three of them as to what is their biggest area for improvement, and then give me 3 quick notes on how they can improve those.
It seems like for the last 3 teams, they're trying to focus on trying to find their niche. It seems like with these 3 teams, they're not forcing shots because their shot selection isn't the worst, but they're stepping outside of their comfort zone to try to produce points. And that's kind of visible with 3-point percentage and relatively their shot selection as well. I think as a unit, points per game obviously has to go up. I would also say the turnover battle. Don't like it for all 3 of them. Genuinely, I think that those are the 3 things that kind of stick out for me.
I agree with it. I do think, and we will segue this over because Union does have their schedule out. Union, to me, is losing the most. You're losing first-team all-conference member Madison Brady, second-team all-conference member Mackenzie Himes, 20 for Brady, 10 for Himes, 9 rebounds, 20 and 10 pretty much for Brady on the average on a 35, 81 from the splits. Mackenzie Himes, 11, 6, 54, and 33 from the three-point line. You are returning some young core in Emre Glover, all freshman team, and Rachel Smith Jr., but still I consider her a young group there. And then same thing for both Rams crews. It's going to be a development year for both of them. I don't think it's anything crazy to say. Could they sneak up on some of those last 2 playoff spots? Possibly. I mean, Union did it last year, but we'll have to wait and see for sure. For Union, their schedule is out. Nothing jumps out for me for sure. A lot of conference games, not too many non-conference games. So their first game of the season is going to be a conference game on November 12th. That'll be against Montreat at home, and they've got Midway, and they're going to go back to their conference with Pikeville on the road. The other team that does have their schedule out is Columbia International. They've got Clinton College, Converse, Coastal Georgia on the 29th, Thomas on the 1st, and they opened up their conference run against University of Pikeville at Pikeville on the 15th, and nothing to really report after that. And for Bluefield, they do not have their schedule out as of right now. We're going to bring it all the way back. Where do you see Spartanburg Methodist coming in? First things first, give them a round of applause. Welcome to the conference. Now, this is why I wanted to give that little comparison with GGC. Last year was the first year for Spartanburg. This is going to be year 2 of it being an NAIA program. And last year, they were in the CAC. They made the CAC championship, the tournament. They actually got a win in the postseason. So they're kind of rolling a little bit here. They're returning back 1 junior, 2 sophomores, 2 seniors. Jaya Lilbert, Destiny Middleton, Najee Gilman, Crystal Johnson, and Mia Hansen. This team, if we're going off what we talked about, meeting the quota, this team is going to be a playoff lock, smack dab, minimum in the middle. Do you agree with me? Where do you see them falling? How does Spartanburg affect the AAC? Go.
I agree. I think right now I have them in 6-7.
Someone out there just went like this for no reason.
It's probably you. Jada Liebert, 14 points. Destiny Middleton, basically 14 points. Nasia Gilliam, 12 points. Crystal Johnson, basically 10 points. Mia Hansen, basically 10 points. The wealth is spread across this team. There is no necessity for an outlier because they can look across their roster and say, pick a number 1 through 5, get a bucket. And personally, I've always liked teams like that. Maybe a little biased.
Absolutely.
But the fact that, yes, there's an outlier as somebody who does it more efficiently, but you can really go across your roster right now and say, like, in this exact moment, on this play, if I present a play that has so many different corners, so many different wraparounds, so many different options, that we can assure that we're going to end the possession with the bucket, that's scary, especially coming into this new conference. I think, and hear me out because I'm going to be one to test the logic for sure. If the cards play right, this is a definition of break right. But if these cards play right and this team has a breaking right kind of season, not in terms of the tiers, but if everything falls right for them, they're definitely going to be like top 4, top 3. It's a big if. Like it's if the cards play right. There's a big if. I don't want to say I'm high on them because, like, obviously it's a new team. You have to respect all the other teams in the conference.
For sure.
But I will say that if the coin flips right every single time for them, or not even 70% of the time this season for this Spartanburg Methodist team, they are going to be comfortably hosting the playoff games.
I like it. No, for sure, we agree. We're about to get in these tiers in a second here, and then head over to the River States. Spartanburg's gonna be a playoff team. We can agree with that. Where they are in the playoffs, we'll see. But they're gonna be a playoff team, absolutely, in first year of the AAC, and I'm excited for that. We love those stories. Last question before we head over to the tiers. Bringing it like we previewed everybody. Do you think the AAC will be top heavy this year? And by top heavy, I mean there will be a noticeable gap in the records between, I'll give you the top 4 and then the rest of the conference. Maybe the 5 and 6 are close to the 4, but 4 to 7, there's a noticeable gap. Will that happen this year, or do you think it's going to be closer than that? And I'll say, is there a 6-game gap between 4 and 7? I'm going yes. I think there will be. I think that the top teams are going to be a little bit kind of beaten on the bottoms, in my opinion.
I'll go no.
You're going to know? What number do you think are you going to give it?
I'll say 1 through 4 has maybe like a 2 to 3 game
lead
advantage
over number 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say 5 through 7 is flip up a coin interchangeable.
I can see that. No, for sure. And that's kind of why I feel like it's going to be a situation where we're not necessarily worrying. Like, the top 4 are going to have their own battles, and then I think the rest of the conference are going to have their own battle. And that's why I say it's going to be top heavy. I don't think there's going to be too much of a, hey, if we go on a winning streak, we can move up. And I don't know if that's going to be possible in the AAC. But that's going to do it for our preview part of the AAC. Now we're going to head over to our tiers list. We're going to run through them fairly quickly here. Contenders, playoff locks, at the door, break right. We're going 3 teams at the contenders, 4 at the playoff locks, 3 at the doors, 4 break rights. For those who don't know, contenders, teams we feel like can or will win either or both the conference and regular season championships. Playoff locks, teams we feel are going to be in the postseason. Those are what do you say? That was your pen or Sharpie? That's no. Sharpies. Sharpies were what you said there.
Sharpie.
Tattoos for the contenders. At the doors are going to be your pen, erasable pen. Teams we feel like could miss the playoffs just by a game or two, could make the playoffs just by a game or two. And then break right, teams we feel like are going to have everything go their way for them to get into the postseason. Pencil without lead, pretty much is what Lex said in the past. We'll start there. I think we have the same 4 teams. I think we might have a different order. Do you have from bottom to top, so 14, 13, 12, 11. Bluefield, Columbia International, Union, and Breanu.
Did you just completely forget CIU?
Yeah, Columbia International. Remember, there's 2 Columbus.
Oh,
Columbia
you're right.
College.
You're right.
Yeah.
I was about to spaz out.
No. Those are my 4. Do you have the same 4? Do you also have the same order, or just the same 4?
Not the same 4.
Not the same
my
4?
order interchanges, but it's Columbia International, Breanu, Union, and Tennesse Wesleyan.
I was close to putting Tennesse Wesleyan. I really was. I'm not gonna lie to you, but and the team I was gonna bump up was gonna be Breanu, in my opinion. But I kind of went with at the door, bottom to top, Tennesse, Truett, McConnell, Reinhardt. Those are my 3 teams in at the door. Do you have the same 3?
Montreat, Columbia, and I put Breanu twice. Hold on.
I think you're missing Bluefield in there.
Oh, then Bluefield is definitely breaking right, and Breanu would be at the door.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking you were gonna go. I was thinking about putting Breanu over Tennesse. I went Tennesse, but I do think Breanu has a legit case to get that last spot for the playoffs, play-in type of situation. Playoff locks. Columbia, that's where I got Columbia. I got them going 7. Bryan at 6. Montreat at 5. Spartanburg, 4 seed, year 1 of the AAC. I'm here. Let's ride. Do you have the same 4?
Bryan, Truett, Reinhardt, Spartanburg.
You got Spartanburg at 4?
I do.
Let's get it. I love it. I love to see it. I don't think we talk about their schedule. Nothing crazy, to be honest with you. Their first conference game, we'll jump right to it, is going to be against Columbia at home. So I think it's going to be a very good game. That'll be on November 12th. So just wanted to give them, because I know their schedule is out. Now, contenders, we have the same 3. This order, I'm going to preface this saying I'm going off of what happened last year, because if I didn't, I would have a certain team number 1, but I'm not going to jump that gun that crazy. I want to still have some type of realisticness.
Yeah, you have no sense of truth, so I knew you were going to go Pikeville number 1.
I wanted to bad, but self-control. I went Pikeville, Milligan, Johnson. What did you go?
Pikeville, Johnson, Milligan.
I figured we were going to flip those 2, but I really was about to put Pikeville number 1, and I have no problem saying that. But that is going to do it. As a matter of fact, let's recap real quick our contenders, playoff locks at the door, and break right. Very similar, but we will recap them anyways. For me, my 2025, 2026 AAC, way too early tiers. Contenders, from top to bottom, we're going Johnson, Milligan, Pikeville, your playoff locks, Spartanburg, Montreat, Bryan, Columbia. At the door, Reinhardt, Truett, McConnell, Tennesse Wesleyan, and then break rights, Breanu, Union, Columbia International, and Bluefield. Lex.
Right, at breaking right, we have Columbia International, Bluefield, Tennesse Wesleyan, and Union. At the door, we have Montreat, Columbia, and Breanu. Playoff locks, Bryan, Truett, Reinhardt, and Spartanburg with your contenders in this particular order. Pikeville, Johnson, and Milligan coming out on top.
And that will do it for our AAC, brother. We did it. We're going through. We're going to head over now to the River States. Fair warning, probably going to jump right into it because we got stuff to do, so we going to have to knock all these out in one sitting. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for the River States Conference. If you're not coming with us to the River States, that's fine. We appreciate you. We love you too. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and make sure you go follow us on all our socials at NAIA Women's Hoop Report. Hopefully we'll see you in the river. If we don't, we'll see you in the next one. And we are back now for part 2 of part 9 of episode 13. And we have a special guest here. Lex, is this the mascot for NAIA Women's Hoop Report?
It can be. I
think it should be.
This is Matt. His brother's over there causing a ruckus, so he's going back now.
For the people at home, I didn't know Lex had dogs either, so we're all learning something new today. We just finished up I think they want to go out. I think you're gonna have to let them. I think you're gonna have to let them out.
Yeah. Their mom's gonna die. They just speaking.
All right. Well, hopefully they'll like to hear a little bit about the River States Conference. But we just finished the AAC, very good conference, very deep conference. I think they're going to have a very solid year. Now we're going to head over to the River States, our first of 2 conferences in the NAIA that's got divisions. They've got a West and an East, and it kind of made the standings and stuff a little bit easier. So now we're going to head over to the recaps of everything, as well as we'll review now the standings from the River States Conference last year. In the East, you had Shawnee State, Rio Grande, Midway, IU East, Alice Lloyd, West Virginia University Tech. And for the West, you had Bresica, IU Southeast, St. Mary of the Wood, IU Kumiko, Oakland City, and IU Colombus. You can also see your conference tournament teams on the east and the west side, as well as your national teams in Shawnee State and Rio Grande. Now we're going to head over to the recap. Round of applause for everybody who made a all-conference team, our regular season champions, as well as our conference tournament champions, and then your postseason award winners at the bottom. Lex, we'll get right into it. Which division will have more different playoff teams this season? And basically what I mean by that is, will the East have newer playoff teams, or will the West have newer playoff teams compared to last year? Again, only 4 teams from each conference go to the postseason, and then they have like a crossover before they eventually get to the championship. Which division will have a tighter race for the number 1 seed? And then will the conference championship feature a team from each division? So like the West and the East. Last year that did not happen. It was the Rio Grande team as well as the Shawnee State team, both from the East, excuse me. So we're going to see if we kind of agree that's going to happen again, or if it'll be a little bit more, it'll be East versus West. And then I'll talk about our way too early tiers. We will do a tiers per division. So we'll start with the West, start with the East, and then we'll talk a little bit about both of them towards the end of the episode. Lex, let's get right into it. The Bearcats from Bresica. 11 returners coming back.
Brussia.
I'm just going to tell you in advance to send me a recording of the names, and then I'm just going to put them into the roadcaster, and then every time I got to say it, I'll just press the button, and it'll be you. I think that's what we're going to do. The Bearcats, I'm just going to start calling them by their mascots. 11 returners coming back. Jenna Cramp, Carolina Lucas, Brooklyn Stewart, Cassidy Morris, Shelby Beatty. 4 newcomers. The roster is going to be made up of 4 freshmen, 6 sophomores, 2 juniors, 3 seniors. Lex, talk to me about what you like this team. I like them. I think they're going to be very good. They might be a serious contender when the postseason comes around, but where do you feel that you are with the Bearcats?
I am exactly where they should be. That's where I am with them. I don't see them losing their number 1 spot. I don't see them changing much, especially with them not losing too much. I think they can only get better, realistically. I am going to need to see a little bit more of a defensive presence with this group, but not into the world. Even if they mimicked exactly what they did this season or last season, they're still going to be number 1 for me.
I agree. I think because you're returning such a good amount, you're going to have a very solid foundation to build on. Again, for Jenna Cramp, she was second team all conference member. For Carolina Lucas, she was second team all conference member. For Stewart, Morrison, Beatty, 8 points, 9 points, 7 points, all of them at 3 or more rebounds, all of them almost above 35% from the field. Everybody that I just mentioned had multiple double-figure scoring games, at least a 20 ball, at least a double-double. They're going to have so much they can build off of. I think the Bearcats should be a favorites for next year. They do have some new players coming in, Tamaya Yates, Cassidy London, and Jamiria Brown. They're returning, again, their top 7 players pretty much, all their starters, as well as 2 that made all conference members, obviously talking about Cramp and Lucas. I'm excited for this crew. I feel like they should be, I'm not going to say the team to beat, but they're up there. Something about it, I feel like they just had a really good year last year, and I think they feel like they should have had a better year. The Bearcats are going to be a real threat in the River States Conference for sure, and no one should definitely overlook them. No one should even consider that they might not have a good year. Their schedule is out. They're going to start the season with Montreat. That's going to be on Halloween. And you got Tennessee Southern. You know how high I am on the Firehawks. That'll be at home. Then you've got Northwestern Ohio. Scroll down a little bit. You've got Lindsey Wilson, another Lindsey Wilson sighting there. Missouri Valley, Haskell, Mission, St. Mary of the Wood. This team's got a very good non-conference schedule. Nothing that jumps out crazy, but a very good lineup of competitive teams that probably going to give us some nice games down the stretch. Then your first conference game is going to be against IU Kumiko. And then you round out the rest of the year pretty much conference games all the way through. Lex, do you think this team can do something crazier than normal, or is this going to be another year of – do you think the regular season will sway you at all, or you just postseason or bust for this crew?
Postseason or bust. I think that they have enough to already kind of clean their regular season. So if the regular season doesn't go their way, they have the postseason to make it up for it, because with this team, I don't think regular season matters, obviously, but I think their main focus is winning the conference.
No, absolutely. And then now we're going to head over to IU Southeast, the Grenadiers. First things first, shout out new coach, Abby Downer. Another team that is returning 10-plus.
I love all these new coaches.
I love it. I love to see it, and especially in Downer's. I looked a little bit at her article. She was a GA at Purdue University. Yes, the Purdue University. She played at Marion for 4 years, so she knows the NAIA. Her record at Marion, 144-27. That's as a player. She doesn't know nothing but winning at the NAIA level. She had 4 regular season championships a part of the Knights. She had 2 conference titles a part of the Knights. And then she made the postseason, the national tournament 4 times in her 4 years. Basically, again, winning is winning. And when you win, you keep on winning. I think she's going to be a very good addition to this IU Southeast team. Talk to me about this crew. Talk to me about what you like, because they're bringing in only 4 newcomers. So, again, they're going to be returner heavy, but I think that's going to be a strength and their calling card going into this year.
You have Lindsey Wernert, second team on conference, 11 points, 8 boards, basically, 3 assists, 50% from the field, 31% from the 3. Jesse Ledgerwood, second team all conference, 12 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, 40% from the field, 35 from 3. Taylor Treat, 7 points, 3 assists, 7 points, 3 boards, 4 assists, 34% from the field. McKenna Wilson, 8 points, 2 boards, 36% from the field, 36 from 3. Very efficient returning core, and that's just not even half of what they're bringing back.
This crew, again, because you have such a good returning group, I think they're returning because of Coach Abby. I think they like where she's coming from. I think they're going to benefit from young coaches have just a different feel about it, different aura about them sometimes. So I do think she's going to be exactly what this team needs. You mentioned some of the returners. I just think this team's got to get better. I just think this team has to continue to take that step forward in the process, because if they do that, they will be right there with the Bearcats. I am going with the Bearcats to be the number 1 team in the West, But it's gonna be there's gonna be, again, the question that we asked with the title race. That's gonna be the next question here in a moment. I think it might be the West, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Those two teams, I think, are going to be very, very, very tough in the West Division of the River States. For me, when I look over at the stats, my biggest thing for them, can the defense get a little bit better? I think the offense is fine at 73 points per game, but can the defense get below 60? Just get below 70, I mean. Okay? If you can get below 70, I'm going to be a little bit happier. But if you keep giving up 70, 71 points per game, it's going to be a tough break for sure. You had 4 newcomers, 2 main ones that I definitely wanted to highlight. Morgan Roberts, a transfer, and then Samaria Miller, a freshman. Because you're only bringing in 4 newcomers, those 4 newcomers definitely had to be vetted a little bit more, because you don't need to just go out and get players. You're not losing everybody. So if you're bringing in people, it's because you feel like they can make an impact right away. So I'm expecting nothing less from both Roberts and Miller. Now we head over to St. Mary of the Woods. Guess what? New coach. We've got Tarpe Young coming to St. Mary of the Woods. This team, I think it's very safe to say they are the recruiting class team. I'm looking at a rebuild year here. You're pretty
100%.
much losing everybody, not really returning too much, if anything, but you're losing first team all conference, third team all conference, third team all conference. It's just going to be too much here, but tell me, we know what they're losing. We don't even got to touch on it. But tell me, what should the goal be for this St. Mary of the Woods team going into year one of a rebuild and getting this new era kicked off for this crew?
The goal should be to upset every team you come across. You have a whole new group coming in, so you really don't know what cards you have to play. So your game plan should be to not really focus on what cards you have to play, but make sure that everybody else's cards aren't as good as they seem. You go into each game winning games you aren't expected to win. Go into the playoffs if it works out that way, and you break a higher seeded team down. You upset a whole lot of teams. That's the goal. That's my expectation. That's my floor. Just be the upsetting team.
I will say, if there's a division you'd rather be in if you're a new coach or a rebuilding program, it is the West Division, because there's still another new coach that we're gonna have to talk about here later in a moment. So I think this is gonna be a good division where maybe a new coach isn't gonna hurt too much, because you have so many new coaches, at least aside from trying to get to number 1 seed, obviously. I didn't mention for IU Southeast, or for the Grenadiers. I mean, their schedule is out. They have 2 main games I wanted to talk about. They're going to be in the Campbellsville Classic. They're going to be playing against Campbellsville and then against Bethel. Very tough test. Very good test. I think that could be a very good showing of where they're going to be or how good they can be. Do I think they go 0-2? Yes. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But if they go 1-1, you got me. I'm sold. I'm going to take the Grenadiers. You also have 2 more Mid-South games in Cumberlands of Tennessee and then Cumberlands of Kentucky for the Patriots. So you got 4 non-conference games right there that I'm already like, whoa. If you can get 1, maybe even 2 of those games, which I think you actually can,
Probably.
you just knew Coach Abby was going to try and get her alma mater. So they got Marion on here. It'll be at Marion. I think that's going to be a great homecoming. I'm going out on a limb. Give me the Grenadiers. I think Coach is going to rile up her crew. I think the players are going to want to go out into Marion and win that game for their coach, to just give that article of saying Coach Abby gets first win against former school, against alma mater in Grenadiers road victory. I'm here for it. Give me the Grenadiers in that one. I don't care what the schedule is, what the record is at that point, who's playing, who's not playing. That's an emotional game for me, and emotional games, you can throw the numbers out the window. Give me the Grenadiers. Lex, how crazy am I? Okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy, guys. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. And then their first conference game is going to be against IU Kumiko. That is going to be on the road in Indiana. Well, they're all in Indiana, but it'll be on the road as well. But going back to the St. Mary's team, again, I like what you mentioned. I do think they should be looked at as a upsetter, but I think they can still be a possible playoff team because they're going to be so recruit heavy. You don't know what's coming in.
Possible.
You don't know what's coming in. So I do think we got to definitely give them that opening. I'll even ask you, because we'll jump over to Oakland City next, which is the other new coach. They were technically the 5th seed last year, so we're going to skip IU Kumiko for a second. But I'll ask you which one you feel like could be closer to being a playoff team in a moment here. But St. Mary of the Woods, they got Huntington. Their schedule is out. Olivier Nazarene. So Coach Caleb's going to be hosting them. Governor State, Georgetown College, Spring Arbor, University of Health and Science Pharmacy, Cumberland's Patriots. They have a loaded schedule. You've got Lords at the bottom there from the KCAC. You did something. This schedule is dogged. It is a very tough schedule. It is a very good schedule. Your first conference game is going to be against, how do you say the Bearcats' name? I'm going to give you the chance here. Go ahead. I know you want to. You remember, do you?
I do. I genuinely want to hear you try it.
No, forget it. We're going to Bearcats. Forget it. I never asked that question. So the first conference game will be the Bearcats. It'll be at home for St. Mary's of the Woods. Going over now to Oakland City. Again.
Just say Brescia, man.
New coach. Otis Epps going to be taking over for the Mighty Oaks. Only one returner from last year's team. Their schedule is on Twitter. It was not on their website, but it is on Twitter. Who do you think is losing more, St. Mary's or Oakland City?
Definitely Oakland City.
Talk to me. I know, obviously, Player of the Year aside, we know that. Emily Hope, first team on conference Player of the Year, 18-5 and 3 steals almost. So we know that. But I'm talking about for the rest, you still saying Oakland City?
Yeah.
All right. What about it gives you a little bit more of trepidation, so to speak, for Oakland City?
Monestia Harvey. I hope I say your name right. I don't want to be like Manny here. 13 on conference, basically a certified walking double-double. Marissa Austin, first team on conference, 11-3. Gabrielle Joyner, second team on conference, 12-6. Moment of silence.
I'll say this, or I'll ask you this then.
I said moment of silence.
That was a moment. Was that not a moment? That was definitely a moment.
Not enough.
What do you mean it's a moment? It's one moment. So are you saying, so you think Oakland City will lose more? Do you think?
Yes.
Which one are you leaning more towards being the bigger upsetter team? St. Mary's or Oakland City? What from last year's stats? Again, new coaches, so it's what is your gut telling you? Don't worry about the numbers, but what is your gut telling you for which team will be a better upsetting team next year? Not necessarily playoff team, but upsetting team.
Probably Oakland City.
Oakland City? I could see that. I kind of feel that too. I don't know why, but I think they're going to be the team that could get some teams kind of catch them sleeping a little bit. So I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do. Heading over now to their schedule here, I do believe it is up. I'm also looking. I think the defense is going to be very important for this Oakland City's team because you're holding teams under 70. The offense was very reliant on Hope as well as Joyner, who's second team all conference. Austin was first team all conference, and then like you mentioned, Harvey, who is nine points per game, third team all conference. Can you go out and find that on a single year? Because you have so much you're looking for, possibly. But I did see their roster, and there's not a lot of names. It's going to be a smaller roster this year, so can't expect too much. But again, that could lean into what you were talking about them being upsetting a lot of teams because they don't expect them to be in games with Oakland City. The closer the game is, I feel like that always goes to the underdog's favor when it's all said and done. Looking at their schedule, they open up against Bryan College, against Montreat, then Another crazy schedule, another crazy run here. You got Georgetown, Cumberland's, Tennessee, both on the road. Then you've got Marion at home. You're good. That's a good one. You're able to get that one at the crib. Then you've got Mount Vernon Nazarene, Cumberland's of Tennessee, Spring Arbor, Indiana Tech. Your first conference game is going to be against IU Columbus. Then you've got all 4 IUs. Technically, you've got Columbus, Southeast, Kumiko, and East. This Oakland City team, their non-conference schedule actually surprises me. I'm very excited for it. There's going to be some tough ones for sure, but they might be able to sneak 1 or 2. I can see them sneaking 1 or 2 here, and then maybe you're talking about some closer games throughout the rest of those matchups. Now we're going to head over to the Cougars for IU. This team, their roster is out. You got Maya Katie coming back, 13 conference member, Kelsey Langley, Alexis Dioro coming back as well. You've got 11, 8, and 6 between all 3 of them individually. So combined, that puts you at about just under 30, if not over 30. You're losing Anna Kieser, second-team all-conference member, Chloe McCain, 11 points per game. Anna was putting up about 13 and 9 on an efficient 44% from the field. The recruiting class is out, so I'm going to pull up the article and kind of read a few names that I really liked and what I was hearing from. Can this group, what do you like from this group, and what do you like for them in improving to being a top 3 seed in this kind of wide open bottom half of the West Division?
Offense. I think that this group needs to gain more of an offensive presence, as well as create more of a separation between their opponents with every other staff. They're pretty much just about losing every battle, and it's not like a drastic thing. Like, you're losing every battle statistically by like less than 1 full percentage. If they separate that more towards their benefit, I definitely see this team being able to step into a role where they aren't necessarily just kind of flat out middle of the pack, but they get more towards the top and definitely create a run for their money.
For the recruiting class, they're bringing in 4 players, at least according to this article. Isabella Gruber, she's going to be a freshman next year. She was a 4-year varsity player. She was all-conference honoree, honorable mention in all area where she played at. Hannah Prickett, she is going to come in, going to also be a freshman, and she was another player that she was actually a 3-sport athlete, so give her credit for sure. For 75% of her time in high school, she earned multiple all-conference, all-county team MVP awards. She's going to be actually going to be majoring in sports and recreation management. That would be cool for the 2 of us. And then J.C. Rollins, she's going to come in. Looked like she's going to be a freshman as well. Then Emily Scorsone, she's going to be a transfer from Clement College of St. Joseph. Similar to what we talked about earlier, if you're bringing in a low number of recruits and you already have, and you're not a new coach, it's probably because you don't need to bring in that many recruits. So this IU team from Kumiko might be a sleeper team for sure. We're going to look over at Columbus. After we look at Columbus, we're going to answer question 1, which was, will this team have newer playoff format or playoff teams? Remember, only top 4 go. So will they have a new set of 4? Will they have a few new set of 4? Will they have no new 4? And then we'll do our contenders for them, our tiers for them. So that way, because again, we're gonna have the divisions are kind of separate, so we're gonna do them a little separately, and then we won't necessarily overlap them overall. IU Columbus, I think they're returning a lot. Like, they might be my sleeper team. They might be my at the door team type of thing here, because Jacelyn Starks, Amaya Collins, Abby Fleetwood, 14, 12, and 10. I'm going to be honest. 55 points per game with having that team back does not seem right at all. I think this thing goes a little bit deeper. Obviously, the defense is the biggest thing here. You need to get better on defense significantly. Is there a
opponent's points are almost at 90?
That's why I said significantly. All right? I thought it was a typo. I had to double check. How much... We're going to assume that this team still loses the points per game battle to their opponents. At what margin are you comfortable in saying they can still make the playoffs in the West?
They have to bring that under 12.
So if they're at a 12 points per game difference, a 12 plus minus, you're comfortable in saying they could at least get the 4 seed?
Right now, yes, only because the logic that goes behind it is there's 4 teams that we can definitely say that we know what they're bringing back. And with that, the logical side of me is it has to bump them up because of the level of uncertainty leading into the other 2 teams.
And that's kind of where I was leading. That's why I asked you that question, because I was thinking they could get the 4th seed because of what they're returning and the newness that's going around them. Like I mentioned, one team in St. Mary, new coach, clean slate. Oakland City, who was above them, clean slate. They could have a rough year as well. So now you bump that down. That number 4 spot's wide open, and especially because you and I think the IU Kumiko team is going to head up into that 3rd spot. So I'm very excited for this Columbus team. This Columbus team checks a lot of boxes in theory, but I got to see it on the court for me to be a little bit more excited about it. Their schedule is out as well. Mount Mercy, Culver Stockton in the Artium Classic. And you've got St. Xavier, Taylor, Bethel, Georgetown College, Grace, Governor State. I haven't gotten to conference games yet. Their first conference game is going to be against Oakland City. That is going to be on December 20th. I like this crew. I think this crew is very exciting. I think this crew is going to have a good year, but it's on them. This might be my it's on you team. This might be my it's on you team because defense is an effort thing. I need the defense to be better, flat out. It ain't a coaching thing. It's gonna be it's gonna be an effort thing. I need them to lock down. I need them to not get out rebounded by almost 20. I need them to not lose the turnover battle by almost 5. I need you to not lose the 3-point percentage by 5. The field goal percentage by over 10. Like there's too many things you're losing. You clean those up, and you don't even got to win them, but get them closer. You'd be surprised how you might slide into that 4th spot. But now, going to the question. Do you think there will be new 4? Do you think there will be the same 4? Or do you think it's going to be a little bit of a mix for the playoffs in the West?
I think that it will be the same. I think
we can both agree that the top 2 are going to be in.
Yeah, like it'll be the same top 2, different bottom 2.
Okay, which bottom 2 are you going with? Are you going with the 2 IU teams?
Yeah,
I think so too. I think the fact of
honestly, I'm going to be messy. I
love when Lex is messy.
I'm going to say that I think it stays exactly the way it is. IU Kokomo jumps up to 3. St. Mary goes to 4.
Oh, okay. So you're saying same but new. Just a new order. Okay.
Same but new.
That's semi-messy. That's not messy, but it's semi-messy. It's enough for me to like have to go get something to clean it up, but it's not crazy where I got to go get like a mop. I get that. All right. I like that. I like that little. I'm going to go with what you said originally, though. I'm going to go with both IU teams make it. And then, IU Kokomo was already there. IU Columbus joins them. And then the 2 new coaches are going to miss the postseason in their first year. Wouldn't be surprised if the following year is a little bit different, though. And then our tiers. 6 teams, 4 tiers. We're going to go 1 contender. Let's get messy. We'll go 2 playoff locks. That's 3 teams. And then we'll go 2 break rights and then 2 at the doors and 1 break right.
That's fair.
Who is your break right team? Basically, which one of the? I'm sure it's going to be one of the 2 new coaches. Which one of them is your break?
No, honestly, it's I Columbus.
Oh,
I feel like
okay.
I feel like they have to very much focus on their margin separation and kind of honing on their stats before entering that conversation. We put them up there because statistically and out of respect, we can't disrespect them by allowing a team full of uncertainties to step in and overlap them as terms as, playoff seedings, because that's, we don't know what's going to happen. So we can't say the unknown is better than this team. That's not necessarily right.
Absolutely.
But this team does have to break right to even be in that conversation, which is why I have them.
Okay, I'm going to go with St. Mary's just because I don't know their roster. And at least Oakland City's case, they have their roster out. So that's the only reason I'm going to go with them. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm thinking it's going to be the right call, but I'm just going to give them that nod because they don't have their roster out just yet. Now, break rights. We get 2. Who are you going with?
Both for the new coaches.
Both the new coaches. I'm with you. I like it. I'm cool. I'm gonna go with Oakland City, and then I'm gonna go with IU Colombus in that slot. I think they're the ones that could sneak in there or just miss out and be the 5th seed. Give me your playoff locks. This is where it's gonna get a little dicey because I'm sure we're each gonna have IU Kumiko. I'm assuming in this one.
Yeah.
Now, which of the top 2 teams are you putting in this slot? The Grenadiers? Oh, that one kind of hurts me. I really thought you were going to go with me and say the Bearcats.
Nah, because you can't even say their name.
I don't like you. I really don't like you sometimes. Like, I genuinely do not like you sometimes. Fine. Just because of that and then because you made me laugh, I'll give you that. I'll go with the Bearcats to be the number 1 contender in this conference, and then we'll go with the Grenadiers being number 2. I do think those two are flippable, though. I do think there's not too much of a gap between them. There's a gap between the 2 of them and the rest of the division, in my opinion, but there's not a gap that much between the two teams themselves, and I think it'll be a good race for that number 1 spot. Now we're going to head over to the East Division. Shawnee State, going to be the first team. First thing I wanted to do, I want to round of applause a player, Sienna Golster. First team all-conference member last year, 15-12, 3 steals, 55% from the field, 44% from the three-point line. She signed a pro contract. So I definitely want to give her a moment, definitely want to give her flowers because that is born another round of applause. That's always an impressive thing, and I'm happy for her to have continued to be able to play basketball at the highest level possible, and we wish her nothing but the best to continue to show people that the NAIA's got hoopers everywhere. As for Shawnee State, though, they're regular season champions. They're a postseason team, obviously. They made it to the national tournament last year. They won a national tournament game in the tournament. They're returning everything. I don't think there's much to say. Yes, it's a big loss losing Golster, like I just mentioned. But do you think it's gonna really affect them too much, or do you still think this is the team to beat in the East Division?
It's still the team to beat, but it's not because it's not gonna affect them as much. It's just because everybody else is losing a little more. Honestly, everybody else who's contending is losing a little more.
And on that note, I'm gonna talk about the schedule here because it is a doozy. And then I'm gonna use that note to transition to Rio Grande because I'm gonna go Rio Grande because of what they've done the past 4 years. First of all, with Shawnee State, their schedule. They've got University of Northwestern to open the season. Then you've got Madonna, you've got Lewis and Clark, who's going to be a great Cascade team, Governor State, Warner, Southeastern at Southeastern. Then you've got the Pats from Cumberland's. It's going to be a home game for them. You've got Pikeville on here. Your first conference game will be against West Virginia Tech. A lot of non-conference games that I think are going to help their resume. A lot of games that I'm going to look at, and I feel like, looking at these, I like them in the Pats game because I don't know what the Pats have right now. That Pikeville game might be a little bit tougher. Southeastern might be a toss-up there. Lewis and Clark might go. I want to say Shawnee State in that one. Same thing with Governor State. I might go Governor State on that one. But it's a toss-up between some of these games. Shawnee State is the regular season champions. They're the defending regular season champions. But at the end of the day, the River State, both divisions, they run through one specific team, and that is Rio Grande. Rio Grande is a 4-time. They're looking for the 5. They're looking to have one on each finger this year. They've been the last 4 RSC conference tournament champions. You can't say a team to beat without saying Rio Grande. I think that is such a clear-cut situation. Now, What you did say is right.
It's not clear cut anymore.
What you did say is right. They're losing Kaylee Darnell, who's second team All-American, first team All-Conference. You're losing the newcomer of the year and Jasmine Jordan, first team All-Conference member. Isaiah Williams, second team All-Conference member. Lexi Wood, as well as Harley Enrichit. Both of them combined, you're shooting over 45% from the field just about, as well as about 17 points per game, maybe 18. You're returning Peyton Johnson, third team All-Conference member in her second year, as well as Marley Greenstead, 7-3 with 2 assists and 46% from the field. Don't get me wrong. I understand where you're coming from, but Shawnee State to me is a wait until the postseason team. Some of these non-conference games, they're going to win. I know that. Some of them, they're going to lose. I know that too. But they're still going to have a good record. They might even be receiving votes throughout the year, maybe even top 25, clear cut. But for lack of a better term, I'm not going to say I don't care. I'm not going to really put too much stock in it until the postseason. Because even if Rio Grande beats Shawnee State both times, Rio Grande has proven that they can hit the stride and hit on all cylinders at the right time of the year. So they have to be given that one time, okay, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. The pattern is the pattern. I got to keep going with the pattern here until I'm proven wrong. So I'm going to put my money on Rio Grande being the team to beat for the conference championship. Regular season, that could be Shawnee State's. I could see that. A lot of new people coming in for Rio Grande, a lot of unknowns, so you got to try and figure that out. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to be looking at Rio Grande as being the team to beat for Shawnee over Shawnee State when the postseason does roll around. What is your take on this Rio Grande team?
I'm scared. That's my take. I understand your postseason logic, but I feel like one thing that this Rio Grande team harps on is to be able to make a postseason run. They have the motivation, they have the drive that is displayed throughout the season. And with them having a rougher season, as much as I love the story of having 5 rings, iced out on all fingers, I think this year is going to be a lot harder than the previous ones, only because there's a lot. There really is.
I get it, and again, I'm all for it. I think one of the coldest lines is from Bill Russell, where that picture of him with all his rings, where he said, 1 for each. He's got 11 rings, for those who don't know. 1 for each finger and a toe. Coldest line I've ever heard in my life. Crazy. But I do think, while Rio Grande is about halfway there, if they win this year, I do think it's going to be tough. I'm not saying they can punt the regular season. I'm not saying they're going to be I'm blanking on the name. Blue Mountain Christian from the Southern States, where they were the 6th seed and then they just ran off something crazy, or Lords were the 5th seed and they just ran off something crazy. Like, that's not going to happen. But I am thinking, as long as they're up there 1 or 2, I think you got to wait till the postseason to see what's going to happen. And then once those...
I wouldn't even put them 1 or 2.
Oh, Lord, I can't wait to get to our tiers. On that note, we're going to head over to the schedule for Rio Grande. They're going to open the season up against Columbia, who we just previewed from the AAC. Then they're going to be on the road for the first 4 games of the season. They're going to be at Columbia, at Coastal Georgia, at Carolina, North Carolina, and then at Milligan. 2 ACC teams that we just talked about. 2 AAC teams that we just talked about that I think are going to be a good test for them. Columbia, new coach, going to see what they can do there. Milligan, an established somewhat team in their conference, as well as getting there nationally. And you got Governor State, Lewis and Clark, Mount Vernon, Nazarene, all at home. Those first 7 games in the month of November, it's going to tell us a lot about this Rio Grande team on multiple fronts. They can go above 500, I'll be fine. If they're at 500, they can't be at 500. If they go above 500, I'm going to be good. 1 game above 500, though, that to me is 500. I think they should be able. If we're looking at this, I give them Columbia, Coastal Georgia, Carolina. I think those 3 are locks. I think they're the favorites in those games. They should be. The other 4 could be a toss-up, so that's why I'm giving them the benefit of that of being 1 game under 500. But if they're above 500, I'm not going to be too surprised. If they go 7-0, oh boy, look out River States. Then you've got your first conference game at You got your first conference game versus Midway. You have Pikeville on here. That's where my eye went to. Pikeville, Marion, Cornerstone, and Spring Arbor all in the month of December. Talk about tough run here. By December, you're looking at some very tough games here for Rio Grande. And I'm going to use your logic. Because their schedule is so hard, I'm doubling down on my take about them being the team to beat. I think this schedule is about to set them up perfectly for the year. I think they're going to be a great team that
if they win,
at least they're gonna win. At least make it to the conference championship game. At least. Maybe they don't win it, but I'm at least get them back there. And then if maybe it's a rematch against Shawnee State. I would love to see that. The redemption and the revenge. Would love to see that storyline for sure.
Eventually.
Now we're gonna head over to Midway. This Midway team is a little interesting.
I like them coming up.
You know what? Go ahead then. Talk to me. You got